digital delight of jazz and what's more on WFDU HD2, Teaneck.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
What's going on? What's going on? What's happening, blues people? Yet again, your weekly dose of blues music, heritage, culture, traditions. You know what's going on here. You know we do. We celebrate our heritage. We preserve blues music. We raise awareness of cultural and ethnic traditions through our music. That's right. This is Jack Dapper Blues Radio on WFDU HD2 from 5 to 10. We have a very special guest today for the first hour, our featured guest of the night. Now, a lot of you know this brother, and if you don't, I don't know where you've been. Matter of fact, instead of me reading the bio, I'll leave that for the conversation because it's rather thick. Brother Sammy Blue, how are you?
I'm well, my brother. How you doing?
I'm doing good, bro. I'm doing really good. I'm bluesing, and I'm excited to rap with you.
Yeah, hey, man, my pleasure. I've been waiting for this.
Dig it. So I guess we could just dive right in because you have such a plethora of musical styles, but you definitely, they're all in line with the blues. They're all blues. You also have songs that were in films and television shows, and you also were, in said films and television shows. So let's begin from the beginning. But how, may sound like a silly question, but I have to ask. How did you find the blues?
Very, very easily. I mean, it's from a very early age. I think my exposure began around like age 6 to 8 because in my family I had an uncle who was a bootlegger who did parties at his country's house, and he hired blues musicians.
Wow.
You know what I mean? He hired. I later found out there's a line that goes to the time I was 8 and heard Buddy Moss playing, by the fire at night when the kids couldn't come out of the house at my uncle's house. To when I was 14 and met Buddy again, and 15 and started learning how to play guitar for him.
Wow.
So I didn't come to music the traditional way through the church somehow. You know what I mean?
No, dig it.
I came through hearing live blues people that my uncle would hire at his parties, and then that uncle, who was like a dad to me, also took me to hear my first live concerts. When I was like 10 and 11. At 10, he took me to the old 81 theater in Atlanta when black people had their own theaters in Atlanta. You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah, there used to be 4 or 5. Now there's none. But the 81, that was in like 1961. I was 10 years old. I think I saw my first concert, and it was T-Bone. It was T-Bone Walker headlining with Gatemouth Brown, Mars Mabley, and Pete Meek Markham.
Wow. Talk about legacy history. Wow.
Yeah, that's the first show I ever went to. Then my uncle took me out to that show. And then the following year, he took me to my second live show, and I was 11, and it was at the Ponce de Leon ballpark here in Atlanta. You know, where the Black Crackers played there. You know what I mean? A baseball team.
Right. The Negro League.
Yeah, but the concert nowadays it would be inappropriate. It was the blind show. It was Ray Charles as the headliner.
Wow.
Carter, I think, right when he had put Patches out, I think, about 61, and then Little Stevie Wonder when he had just released Fingertips.
Wow, when he was blowing a harp.
That's it. He didn't play no piano, nothing. That was one of the things that made me feel like I could do it.
You know, I have to. Wow. I have to make a quick segue because in your beginnings and everything that you're sharing with us, the first thing you said that you didn't come into the blues the traditional way through the church. Now the church is traditional when it comes to our music and our heritage and culture, but what you described is also our heritage and culture. I mean, bootlegging, along with blues musicians and juke joints. The Negro Baseball League. You know, if you watch, I can't think of. Oh man, one of my favorite movies with Billy D, Richard Pryor, and all of them about the Negro Baseball League. Motown put it out. It's filled with blues music. So these things kind of went hand in hand, right?
Bingo Long, Traveling All Stars.
Yes, sir. James
Earl Jones and Billy D. It's one of Richard Pryor's big movies that got him out there. That's right.
So would you think that that's part of the history and the tradition? Because it may have been what some people may say a secular whatever, but you were really. I mean, a lot of people talk about it now in retrospect in terms of blues started here and they were in the juke joints and it was just a lot of quote unquote historians that read up on this, but you were there. You know, that's a real special connection. At least I think.
Well, look, Jack, the blessing of my life and career is that. You know, I pretty much learned what I learned directly from the source. I mean, that in when times like that were happening. I mean, when I was 15, I used to usher concerts at what was then the City Auditorium. And I was a big kid, a basketball player. Sometimes I'd get to work security.
Wow.
So. In '68, that's how I got to meet Jimi Hendrix.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
I dig it.
It's, my life is this really weird patch, but at the heart of it is just that when I wanted to learn from the people who, the inventors of the music and the innovators of the music. I didn't really want to learn it any other way. Otherwise, it wouldn't feel like it was a tribal experience for me. I wouldn't feel worthy of doing it if the right people didn't pass it down to me. You know what I mean?
No, I dig it. And Buddy Morse was one of those people.
And Buddy Morse was one of the first people. He was the first people. Uncle Buddy was like, yeah, I love Buddy. I hate, this. I mean, as much as I love Buddy Waters, I still play. If you go on my website, plugsammyblue.com, and one of Uncle Buddy's songs on my website. You don't even have to do anything to pull it up. It's just running. It's a movie running in the background of the website, and I do Chesterfield These Days. I tell the story of Buddy Moss a little bit.
Absolutely. And I've been on your website and I saw that, and I have to say, you really know how to pick that guitar.
Well, I had good teachers.
Okay, so let's fast forward a tad bit, right? So now you had this experience just being immersed in the culture and the music on all ends. and seeing these concerts of these of great musicians that became, Ray Charles was probably a legend at that time, but some of them became legends later on. At what point did you say, I have to do this? I believe you said what gave you the confirmation that was watching Stevie Wonder, but when did you decide you wanted to do this for a living?
Well, that came. Stevie Wonder was early. I mean, I was pretty much a kid then. You know what I mean? I thought I wanted. I can tell you. I can tell you that when I saw Jimi Hendrix, I wanted to play. And seeing those people at 10 and 11 gave me an interest, and I became a listener.
Okay.
I became like, you know, the music became for me at that point at 10 or 11. And I was the only child. Okay.
Okay.
So it became to me like the radio was my best friend, man. I have listened to everything played since 1958 or 9. The thing that could possibly be played on the radio, and then later when I started meeting people, Jimmy made me want to learn how to play guitar. And then I had, you know, the interruption of I'm one of those first group of integration kids in the South.
Wow.
Okay. And
wow.
My teams were spent during the civil rights and hippie years. Okay.
Wow.
And when I was in high school when Dr. King was killed and when Kennedy was killed, and you know, so
you were well aware of what was happening.
Huh?
You were well aware of what was happening. It wasn't where you were too young to absorb it at the moment. You were there. Yeah.
I mean, you had no choice but to be aware of it. There was no, you know, I grew up in Atlanta. I grew up in Decatur, man, right outside Atlanta. It's like, you know, times are just different. But my point is that then all of the great blues people were still alive, and they all came here. Unlike today, we don't get that. I got to meet the year I graduated high school, '69. Jimmy came back. And from 69 until 74, when I moved away, I got to meet everybody that there was because Atlanta was happening. I got to meet Lightning Hopkins.
Wow.
Sonny Terry, Brownie McGee.
Wow.
Taj Mahal, Muddy Waters, Willie Dixon, Rahsaan Roland Kirk, Richie Havens. I mean, an endless list. Stevie John Esty, Howlin' Wolf, Jimmy Reed. You understand? I got to meet a lot of those people before I ever moved away from Georgia.
Wow. Wow. And, you know, let me ask you this real quick, because I had the pleasure of speaking to a lot of Georgia bluesmen, John Tavius Willis being one, Mr. Tony Bryant being another, Larry Griffith being another. I hope I'm not missing them. I think Shelton Poe is a Georgia cat. Georgia, you know, Mississippi gets the crown, so to speak, of the foundation of blues, but a lot of blues stems from Georgia. A lot of, even some of the earliest recordings come from Georgia. Do you think Georgia, and what you're sharing with us right now, in terms of everybody came through Georgia, do you think Georgia gets not necessarily a bad rap, but don't get the properties they should when it comes to being in the forefront of this culture and traditional music?
Well, you want an honest answer?
Absolutely. Yeah, man.
So I myself, being born and raised here, okay, and living here now, am a little bit on the border with that because the thing is that I've been here at times when the music, when the live scene was thriving and everybody supported it and everybody was out and I played 5 nights a week, and then I've seen it And then I seen DUI come in, and what else? And they lowered the drinking age law. They killed the scene.
Wow.
They did that. So the scene is rebuilding itself. It still has limitations as far as live music is concerned.
Right.
Now, part of that means that you're not in a city that actually supports music. It looks like it is, but it's not supporting black, real, indigenous music. You understand what I'm saying?
No, I dig it.
Not, it's not doing that. You know what I mean?
I fully understand, and that's the point of this platform, because we have to see. I just have to be clear, and it's a shame that we have to make a disclaimer when it comes to this. There's no one saying that the music should be hidden and ran away with, and no one else can experience it, or at least play the music or enjoy it. But I'm just gonna call a spade a spade. I have to start seeing more black blues musicians playing regularly and not being out of one or two tokens in a big festival that's full of rock players. Is this what we're talking about?
That's a trend. That's been a trend for the last 10 years, 15 maybe.
Mm.
But my thing about it, as being from here, stated to your question, was that, I've been here doing various times of years. I moved away for 12 years and lived in Chicago and California and Texas, and was always working and stuff. And I come back here and I work, you know what I mean? But it isn't as prevalent as it should be for blues or jazz.
Mm.
And what's boggling my mind about it is that I moved away for 11 years because I thought it was too slow. When I came back in the 80s, it was booming, and now the city has tripled or quadrupled in population, and we still don't have that flow.
Wow.
That's mind-boggling to me.
Right. So, okay, so is it safe to say that you agree that Georgia doesn't get the properties it should based on being a strong contributor to this music and culture? Or are you saying that is it the state? Is it the people that's not supporting what?
It's the state. It's the state. I mean, there's a reason why it doesn't get the props.
Okay.
It's not just this indelible thing like it should get credit. I mean, I've been fighting that for years. There's plenty of people from Georgia that are famous. I mean, the greatest people, but they get, James Brown gets credit, Little Richard gets credit.
Both blues musicians, by the way.
Otis Redding gets credit. Georgia is not known nowadays for blues.
Got you.
Okay, it's not known for blues. Although there are a few people here who are the real article. Clarence Carter still lives here. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
There's a treasure living here. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
On the same level that when we had Curtis Mayfield living here, a lot of treasures have lived here. Elmo James lived here and worked here with Eddie Tigner back in the 40s and 50s, and a lot of people have come through Atlanta and lived here.
Mm.
But for some reason, the music is not an intricate part of the culture of this state.
Mm.
It's not like Tennessee. It's not like any of the states around it.
Right. Tennessee, Mississippi, New Orleans, Louisiana. I got you.
It's like nothing like the Delta. So it has this Southern identity that allocates certain music at a certain level. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And when you have stagnant entrepreneurism in the arts, you're going to have that anyway. So the first thing to go is blues stuff or jazz stuff. It's and the population changing.
Right.
Different group of people supporting a different thing.
Right. Younger people come in, and it's not that. I wouldn't even go as far as saying they dislike it. They may not know about it. They may just know what they know at that moment. I'm clear. Okay, all right. Wow. Well, hey, well, I do have to ask you this though. Even though I made this statement, because in some cases I do believe that is the case. In other situations, I don't want to say I know for a fact, but it's been documented, and I mean, I've spoke to older relatives that made the trek, the migration. Do you think a piece of it, because Atlanta is a heavily African American town, right? Business wise, government wise, if I'm not mistaken. Do you think that concept that began at the turn of the century in the 20s and even in the 60s, where certain affluent blacks, certain professional blacks did not want to have blues or anything that reminded them of a certain life to be representative of them? Do you think that has to do with it?
Oh, I think that has a great deal to do with it. That's the other side of it. That's the other side of us not supporting us.
Mm.
I mean, especially in Atlanta. I mean, that's like it's akin to the fact that when Dr. King wanted to do marches, the white business heads of Atlanta got together with the black clergy in Atlanta and devised ways so that, black people would have opportunities in Atlanta. So there would be no rioting, that Martin wouldn't do a bunch of marching, and they would not draw that sort of thing here.
Mm.
And it's the same kind of mentality. You know what I mean? People want to move on from that, and I understand that. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know that you need to deny your history to move on from anything.
I'm with you on that. You can not like it, but it happened.
Well. The thing is you also don't have to be so. To me, that's all. To me, that is almost self-hatred. That's almost
absolutely.
It's like how assimilated do you want to be? You know what I mean?
Okay, now. Okay, I do know what you mean. Or as I like to say, I hear you.
I can go look, man. I can go out on the on the south side of town.
Mm-hmm.
It now have the amphitheater. I can't think of the name of the amphitheater on the south side of town, but it's where. But you have that. So when you could go out of the south side of town, now Atlanta is diverse in this way.
Right.
You could go out of the south side of town and see what they call the Atlanta Blues Show. It's actually the promoters from Memphis bringing through the Soul Blues show, right?
Right.
And it's Bobby Rush and Sir Charles and those guys, and stuff. And the place will be packed with black people.
Right.
But and the place will be packed, and it'll be one table of white people sitting down in the front.
Mm.
And the place will be packed. You'll come into the driveway, it'll be all new cars. It'll be totally black people, man.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? It'll be 8,000 black people.
That's beautiful.
And for the Soul Blues show.
Soul Blues. See, wait, hold on. I have to ask you this. So, because you made a clear distinction, and I spoke to a couple of people, and they spoke to me about the blues scene along the South, or the Chitlin circuit, however you want to talk about, how you want to word it, of today. And the blues there is more soul music, which is nothing wrong with that. Is a offspring of the blues, but there's no more Lightning Hopkins or Mississippi Fred McDowell or John Hurt or Son House. Do you find that to be the case?
No, you know what? There are. I find it that the vast majority of us don't listen to that. No, yeah, that's absolutely true.
Mm.
Only aficionados of blues really listen to the classic stuff. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And unfortunately, many of those people that hold that count are not us. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But it's not that people like that don't exist today. You know, you were talking about Tony Bryant. You know, I play solo. John Tavius Willis. There's always. This is what kills me is that in every generation, there's always every kind of black musician that you can think of.
Absolutely.
But most of them don't get seen or heard. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Oh, it's the same way. There may not be as many solo blues players as there are rappers, but I guarantee you, they're out there.
Well, I know a few of them. I'm one of them. I came out of rap because rap is the great-great-grandchild of the blues. And there's a lot out here in New York that I'm finding more and more. There's more. I have to think it's what you said. It's opportunity. For whatever reason, the people who pay, well, no, I don't know. Because the people who pay to see traditional blues, and I use that loosely because, as you and I both know, that blues is a vast expression through music, right? But right. So, but I'll just use that term for now in terms of the Sun Houses type one-man guitar, one-woman guitar. Most of the people who pay for that or to see that are white people, like you said. Now, I've experienced myself playing that style of music in front of a black audience, and they get so excited and more of an, wow, you know, where did this come from? Where did you come from? We haven't seen this in years. So is it that it's not being presented to a black audience?
Well, that's part of it. You know what I mean? That's part of it because I mean, it's that gets over into. Let's talk about the difference in how radio used to be and what it is now.
So okay. So
yeah, or let's get into it and talk about how it used to be was that the blues was the music that was in the neighborhood.
Right.
The blues and jazz.
Absolutely.
The neighborhood.
Absolutely. You know, and you bring up jazz. You would still see more black folk go to a jazz show at this day and age than blues to a degree, unless it's soul blues, funk blues. You know. Right.
Well, yeah, that's still true. I mean, what has happened really over the years is that blues, as a whole, you know, I'm talking about mainstream blues, not talking about chitlin circuit blues or soul blues, just mainstream blues. I mean, people these days that would be considered mainstream would be Buddy Guy, Robert Cray, and I'm just talking about the top of the field that's black.
Right.
Who else? Taj Mahal, Robert Randolph, even if somebody like Joe Bonamassa, he's white, so he don't actually count for me.
Right.
But the truth of that of making a living of that, and even B.B. King when he was alive, was the truth of that and longevity of his career was that he crossed over to a white audience. And that is what has carried, you know, the blues to this point. You know what I mean?
I do.
Whether or not, whenever we decide that there's a whole industry that is blues that very few black people are even involved in running nowadays.
Right.
You know, there's an entire, while people sit back and they can say, well, they can devalue the music and say, well, it doesn't sell as much as R&B or hip-hop or jazz or whatever you want to put out there, or alternative. But there's still an entire industry of it out there happening worldwide.
Right, where people are actually making a living doing just that.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And most of the people making a living are not the musicians.
Right. Hey, you know what? Let me ask you this question. Based on what you just said, do you think in terms of black musicians, black bluesmen and women, they had broadened their range of quote unquote genre music because there wasn't a lot of pay in our traditional music. Do you think that could play a part in it?
I think all of that. I think it does at a certain level. I think if you are stuck in one place,
Mm-hmm.
if you are unable to tour, then it may play a bigger role than necessary because you may have to do, singers have to sing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So if they get a gig with a cover band that's booked by an agency, because the agencies, the smaller agencies, are going to pretty much book nothing but cover bands. They're going to book, they ain't be booking blues festivals. They're going to be booking, weddings and corporate events.
Right.
Right. Well, if you get a gig, that's going to pay you better than going and playing in some club for $400 or $500 a night for the whole band. You understand what I'm saying?
I sure do.
If you have the ability and choice to do that, and all you do is make money from singing or playing horn or playing whatever position it is, then if you're able to do that, then you can do that.
Understood.
You know what I mean? So, but at the same time, if you are a band and all you're trying to do is make it as a band and play your music, that's the most difficult thing to do.
That's the truth. So so how did you how were you able to, and you don't have to give away too many of your secrets, but the folks come here to learn them blues, so I got to ask, how did you position yourself to be able to sustain in the music business this long? Because it's not an easy business to be in. It doesn't matter what style of expression you choose.
Well, the first thing is that I've been single my whole life. Therefore, I had the freedom to do and be anywhere I want to be at any time.
I hear that.
And I don't have any children, so I have no overwhelming responsibility financially that keeps me from doing anything I want to do.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Do I understand?
Secondly, I am from a long line of entrepreneurial people. My fathers, my grandfathers, my uncles, they were all entrepreneurial people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Some of them would have been thought of as hustlers. Now they would be entrepreneurs. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
So it is about not necessarily tackling, but maneuvering and negotiating the system that I'm in. You know, and I don't know. I had a similar conversation with Samuel L. Jackson about this. We had a similar experience. Okay. And this kind of explains it. I played at Samuel L. Jackson's mother's funeral, and we
wow.
Afterwards had dinner and stuff, and he told these stories, man, that I so related to about his mom and letting him go to the movies. My mom let me do that, and all this other stuff. But he also, and although he's a couple of years older, he also went through desegregation. Okay.
Right.
And he said the first thing he figured out when he got there to the all-white school was that they were not smarter than him. That's my answer to your question.
I hear you. Now, I want to...
You know.
No, I dig it. I dig it.
We are, in this situation, we are the artists. So what we have to navigate is now all of what we compete against. You know, we didn't used to have to compete against the internet. We didn't used to have to compete against cable TV. We didn't used to have to compete against top 40 radio and not get radio airplay. You know, the whole scheme of things has changed.
Absolutely.
So, you know, so it's gone. So radio's gone to internet. That's cool. I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? You know, but you just got to know that that's what the deal is. You know.
No, I dig it. I dig it. You got to know what the deal is so you can figure out how you're going to maneuver. Now, you use the term entrepreneur, and you say you come from a long line of entrepreneurs. I want to focus on that because what you said was extremely real when it comes to music, right? Well, let's just talk about music, keeping it music or any type of arts. If someone wants to become a artist, I don't think they fully understand, especially if they're not trying to be signed by a big label or independent label. I'm not sure if they realize that their role is of an entrepreneur.
That's well, you know, it's like that old line, you know. I'm not only the customer, I'm the president.
I hear that.
For us, we're not only the workhorse, we're the product.
That's real.
You know what I mean? And so you literally are the product. You know, that's and a lot of times in people's careers, it's why they don't get to a certain point because they never realize they're the product. They think they're doing something that they want to be doing because they're doing something they want to be doing.
Mm.
But the real truth of the matter is that it's a calling like anything else that you would commit your life to do. I mean, anything you commit your life to do where you know from the beginning is going to be a great deal of suffering involved, I think of that as a calling. If you're in your right mind, you know what I'm saying? If you know you're about to sacrifice years and all kinds of things. I mean, you know, I could be teaching behavioral psychology, you know, at some traditional black college and have 3 kids and a wonderful wife. You know, instead I'm in my basement trying to cut this track.
I hear that.
So we all make our choices, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I chose to become an artist, and I just was blessed because I just was, you know, so many people believed in me that were greater than me that I didn't feel like I could just, you know, blow that off.
Right.
And once again, like I said, coming out of the 60s, I'm not the one to be assimilated.
Absolutely.
So that sort of lend itself to me being an artist anyway.
Mm.
You know, and you also have to have something to express. I think if you're a real artist, you have something to say.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I do. You're not wasting the folk time.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? You have some message that, you know, comes through you. I don't even think it comes from me. I just think I do the work. It just comes through me. If it's really, really good and clear and people can pick it up, it's the universe passing it through me. Whatever knowledge I have coming out in a good way. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. So with that being said, what is your writing process like?
Oh my God, my writing process can be in any manner of ways. I mean, right now, what I've been doing is working on rhythm tracks with the band for 3 years. But but those songs are already written.
Right.
I'm getting ready to record. I'm working on 2 albums for this year for 2018 right now, which is a very, very contemporary album. It's going to be blues oriented, but not pure blues at all. It's funkier than that, but very topical for the times. It's funky.
I know. I hear that. Now. You said topical for the times, right? And the reason why I want to focus on that for a moment, because some folk who want to play the blues or want to keep blues alive, they do so by talking about 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old topics. So wouldn't it, or do you believe, it sounds like you do, but could you explain a little bit more in terms of songwriting, keeping it true to being an artist and the blues for that matter, speaking on what's happening in the now?
Well, that's exactly where I'm at, to be totally honest with you, is because my frustration, if I have a frustration with the blues, it is that the vast majority of the industry of the blues and the people who play it act as if blues was only played during the 50s and 50s. Everybody's trying to sound like they're in the 40s and 50s, and it's 2018. You understand what I'm saying?
I hear you.
As if black music doesn't change every year.
Which it does.
As if the blues cannot progress into anything other than a 1-4-5 when it already did that with any number of artists I can think of. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So my part of that is to pay homage to the blues by playing blues when I'm playing it. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But in my writing, I write all kinds of stuff. Blues wasn't. I've listened, like I told you, I was a hog of a listener. So on both CDs, I'm doing the band CD, and these songs are very topical because and Jack, this is not by design, okay?
Okay.
This just happened. This is why I'm feeling very good about the project I'm doing now, because it just happens that we're living in the time we're living in when it's like, alternative facts exist. when they try to twist everything back to what it wasn't in the first place, and then still blame the brother.
Right. That's going to happen.
As a writer, to me, there's a wealth of stuff to write about, and I am trying to just write the music is going to be slamming, okay?
I hear that.
But the conversation is going to be a different story. I've got a funk tune, man. It's called New World Nation. I was going to call it Living in a New Third World Nation.
And I wouldn't blame you if you did.
But you see what I'm saying?
I do.
but dog, the song is so funky and driving that nobody's going to feel it as being negative because it's such a groove. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But unconsciously they getting the message.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And I got a lot of hard hitting songs like that, and also it's for me. Look, two or three people have done what I wanted to do in the music industry. Okay.
Okay.
Prince did what I wanted to do in the music industry, and Stevie Ray Vaughan kind of got there because he combined some things on guitar that were blues, and you know what I mean. Right,
and right.
And he did it in a tasteful way. He did it the way he should have do it instead of trying to copy it.
Absolutely.
I respect him for that. And I knew him and I played around him, and when I lived in Texas and stuff, so I know he was where he was coming. And he gave all of the black people props.
Okay, I hear that.
So my feeling about it for blues is that why won't they let their blues be innovative as well? What's about the genre that's stuck in concrete? You know what I mean?
I do, and that question actually raises a lot. Why? Because it's like they want to keep it here, but they don't want to talk about this. So maybe it's not being allowed to evolve because subconsciously certain things need to be addressed so everyone can heal.
Well, I mean, it evolves every 10 years when they come out with, the next great white hope. It's evolving with Joe Bonamassa, but there are virtuoso black players that don't even get that that will never get that kind of exposure.
Right. Right.
I mean, Joe Bonamassa is not even close to a Ronnie Baker Brooks.
Whoa! I saw that brother live, man. Woo-wee.
Man, he's not even close.
No.
That perceptual hurdle also. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then once again, the identity of the blues is being borrowed, stolen, leased.
I wouldn't say least because we ain't getting paid for it.
Well, some of us are.
I hear that.
Hey, look, man, I get my check from Warner Brothers regular.
Oh, that's good.
But now that's for movie work now.
Right.
And that is part of where my career is going. I'm trying to finish 2 CDs, yes, but I'm also trying to market more blues to movies. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Market just my music or myself and the music. Either way it works is fine with me. But the movies are a huge outlet. You know what I mean? Because they have to use music all the time.
Right.
Always making movies. You know what I mean? So, and they have to use all kinds of music all the time.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So I am trying to, look into that as well as the acting stuff I'm doing. I may be doing a movie in France next month.
Now that's groovy. Wait, let's stop there for a moment and talk about that. How did that come about? Did you audition for it? Did someone come up and say, Sammy, I like what you're doing. I got something for you. How did this come about?
Well, I've done quite a few films and TV things, but which one are we talking about? Are we talking about the We Are Kingsmen, or are we talking about?
Let's talk about all of them. How did this lane for you open up?
Well, I've been doing film since the 80s. Been doing TV since the 80s, and it's sort of a kismet kind of a thing, Jack. Because right out of high school, I went to the only black cinematography workshop school in Atlanta.
Wow.
Okay, right out of high school. It was 1970, and there was this one guy teaching it, and we learned all this stuff, and I got certified. And then I left it alone and was playing music for years and wasn't even thinking about it. And when I moved back here in the 80s, I started picking up stuff because people would want a musician, particularly a blues player. So I knew people and people knew me. I was the only black blues player here solo.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And so they would just call me. I would get referrals for parts. So I did things. The TV show I'll Fly Away. I did some.
I remember that. Yeah.
Some extra parts on In the Heat of the Night.
Wow.
And then the I'll Fly Away, when they used one of my songs, a couple of my songs, and put me in a couple as the band. And I got to do that. And then there was kind of sketchy things between that. And then I did. I did the Zora Neale Hurston play.
Uh-oh. You're talking my language now.
Yeah, I did the stage play twice. I did it in 98, and I recently did it, I think, in 2014 or 15.
Wow.
In Sarasota with the Black National, the Black, what is it, the West Coast Black Theater Troupe in Sarasota. And right before I did that, though, I got another referral from a friend who had been the head of the Georgia Hall of Fame. She's now the head of the music department for Georgia now. To Love. She referred me to Shea Griffin's agency, and they referred me, and I went in and did the audition for Trouble with the Curve with Clint Eastwood's movie.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm in a scene there with Justin Timberlake and Amy Adams.
No, that's groovy.
Yeah, that's the one I get paid for. That's Warner Brothers. Okay, that's a studio film. That's a real movie. You know what I mean?
No, I dig it.
Anytime it's playing on Showtime or HBO or Maxim or any of those things, I'm getting paid. You know?
That's what it's about.
So that's the kind of work I've been looking at, as opposed to going out hustling, for $500 a night gigs, and it's $100 a man, and it's not that, there's not that much of that in Atlanta.
Right, and that's a hard hustle. To hustle that hard for $100.
Yeah, well, hey, if you have a burger and 3 beers, you go home with $65.
I hear you.
If you stop and get gas, you might get home with 50.
No, that's real.
Man, if I want to play and the scene is happening, then I don't care about the money. You know what I mean?
Yes.
No, the money doesn't matter at all. I have to put the money out of my mind. Otherwise, I won't go out and play.
I hear you.
Okay? So you can't. So it's a double-edged sword there. You know what I mean?
No, it really is. I do. I hear you.
And I have to. But unfortunately for me, I'm always the band leader, and I'm gonna always treat my band right. The band comes first.
No, I dig it, and I mean that's if anything, I like to say Howlin' Wolf gave us a great blueprint on that.
Howlin' Wolf and Duke Ellington.
Absolutely. Ooh, you took it further back.
Oh yeah. Back, dog. This is not. I've studied my people. You know what I mean?
No, I hear you.
Yeah, but Wolf, yeah, absolutely. Of the blues people, yeah, they all getting Social Security right now because Wolf did the right thing.
Wow. Imagine that. And I say wow and imagine that because if you listen to the story or the perception from other people telling our story, you would not think that any of us was that, not even smart, but just that efficient to do something like that. So over, 50, 60 years, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, now, Wolf was very cognizant of business.
So, because we're coming close to the end of the segment. For those of you who are just tuning in, and you shouldn't have been just tuning in because this was a great episode. I'm talking to Sammy Blue. This is Jack Dapper Blues on WFDU. And Brother Sammy, please let the good folk know where they could find you, how they could find you, where they can get your music or anything that you have.
Man, I am on, I like to let everybody know that we are doing a major launch of my website, which is sammyblue.com. You can go there and click onto that, and it will take you to where you can buy it. But my music is on every download, man. It's on from iTunes to Rhapsody to you name it, it's there. CD Baby, Google Music. It's on at least 30 different downloads. Online, it's just Sammy Blue, So it's online for you, but check out the website because the website's got extras on it that you just won't see anywhere else. You know what I mean? It's got videos on it that you won't see anywhere else.
I dig it. And last question, I have to ask you, and I like to ask this to those who not just weathered the storm, but created success in the storm. What would be at least the first thing you would think of to tell, whether it's an upcomer or anybody, in terms of advice in the business?
My advice to you in the business is be productive yourself. Don't ever not be productive. Finish your work. You know what I mean? Produce your work. Get your work done, because without finished work, quality work, you got nothing. It doesn't make any difference how good you are. It difference how good you look. It don't make no difference how much money you got. It's better to have finished product that you're happy with and other people are going to dig and have no money than to have all the money in the world and not have anything that anybody wants to listen to.
That's real. That's real talk.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And you can make a lot of stuff happen with money now. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? Mediocre people paying off, all kinds of things just to put records out, and anybody can put a record out.
Right.
I would say make sure that your material you're putting out is what you want to be represented as, and what will not insult your audience. Don't insult your audience by putting out something that's not as good as you can do. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
But, your grandma would tell you, put your best foot forward. You understand what I'm saying?
That's right.
Make sure you got on some clean underwear.
Yeah, because you never know if you're going to get into an accident.
Man. So, musically, just and really the other only thing is that if you is believe in yourself and don't stop, because if you don't believe in yourself, if you allow anything to stop you from believing in yourself, you will stop. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
Be nothing. It's like either you believe in God or you don't. If you believe in God, then you don't have to worry about what other people don't like or whatever. No, you believe in yourself and you do it to the best of your ability with the greatest amount of taste and respect that you can, and you won't have no problem. I'm not saying you'll get rich, but at least your integrity will be part of what sells you,
Right. And at least you'll be able to maintain.
Exactly. Because you're not going to, because you know how it is now, it's like you're not going to have a 20 or 30-year career if you halfway doing something. There's too many other people doing it.
That's the truth. And easily accessible.
Exactly. And reasonable to deal with, because it's not easy. So, you just have to make that commitment to yourself, to be the best artist you can possibly be. And the rest of it is pretty much common sense. You know what I mean?
That's right. You heard it here, good folks.
The rest of it is don't shoot yourself in the foot, and
or in the leg.
No, don't go through all of that work, and no pearls before swine, that sort of thing.
That's right.
You don't need to offer what you do to everybody.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Try and find the people who appreciate what you do, and they'll be much easier to work with. You know what I mean? People have to believe in what they're doing. Sometimes in this industry to work with you, because sometimes it's not about the money.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's about finding those few people, that one contact that believes in you, that's going to take you to the next level, or it's always comes through people.
Absolutely. Look, Brother Sammy, I really want to thank you for taking the time to chop it up with me on Jack Dapper Blues.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Anytime.
You got to let me know when you're up here. We got to try to get you up here too in New York.
Hey man, I played Terra Blues last time I was up there.
That's a hitting spot right there. I dig it.
I love. Hey man, New York is probably there ain't no probably about it. It's my favorite city in the world.
I hear that. So we're gonna make something happen, man. I really appreciate it. It's an honor. We're gonna get you back on here when your time is available.
All right, my brother.
Take it light.
All right. Take care.
Good folks, you heard it here. That was Brother Sammy Blue. But he dropped some heavy. It's one thing to be a great musician. It's another thing to go through the years and be able to meet, interact, and learn from great musicians. But it's totally other when you receive something and then you can just give back. Because that if you listen, he was giving back, and he was giving it to y'all and me as well. He was giving it to us, letting us know what is going on, what time it is, as they say. Y'all remember that? I'm trying to tell you what time it is. Did you ever see what was that? The 5 heartbeat? Man, he don't know what time it is. All right, we at the bottom of the 5 o'clock hour. You know what that means.